Welcome to TarantulasDreamTV. You are watching a previously recorded broadcast. Tune in every Monday and Wednesday from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Instagram at TarantulasDreamTV for new episodes. And remember, it is a weird, weird world.
This is sort of the twilight hours. This is when the forest really comes to life. This is when animals start coming out and moving.
5 miles north of base camp, Maria is closing in on an area where, along with team member RPG, she discovered high levels of animal traffic and predatory activity.
So Bryce loaded up a Bigfoot recording on this. Hear that? Oh my God.
After playing a Bigfoot howl into the forest, primatologist Dr. Maria Mayer has just heard something. Return the call.
It is intended for the entertainment and instruction of broad-minded adults only, and should not be played to or sold to minors under any circumstances whatsoever. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the floating pie pan in the sky at Groom Lake Analog Recordings. Welcome to Tarantulas Dream TV. Now here's your host, Samba.
Hello everybody, welcome to another broadcast of Tarantulas Dream TV. I am your host,
Samba.
and we are here for some cryptid discussion. We're going to be talking about Bigfoot. We're going to be talking about all the funny ways he just comes in and out of our lives, or she or it, whatever. I'm not sure if Bigfoot have a gender, but that's what we'll be getting into tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the show tonight. Phone number for the show is 520-704-7820. If you'd like to call in at 9:30, I'm opening up the phone lines for open lines. If you have anything you'd like to say, if you'd like to just talk about Bigfoot, talk about how Bigfoot is really just, Bigfoot's just been going through your trash, picking through your mail, going through all your junk at home, really just making a mess of the whole thing. 9:30 is your time to do it, so please give me a call at 9:30. I want to thank everyone again for tuning in. I am your host, Samba, and let's get into it. So before we get into the meat of the night, let's get into some headlines. So tonight, I hope everyone on the stream tonight, I hope no one's a fan of onions. Because some sad news, this article is from usatoday.com. There's been a recall. Red onions expected in salmonella outbreak, shipped to all 50 states and Canada. Red onions potentially contaminated with salmonella were shipped to supermarkets and restaurants in all 50 states and Canada, health officials say. Thompson International of Bakersfield, California on Saturday recalled all red, white, yellow, and sweet yellow onions shipped from May 1st through the present out of concern that they might be affected, according to the FDA. Onions were sold in cartons weighing 5 pounds to 50 pounds and mesh sacks ranging from 2 pounds to 50 pounds under brand names including Thompson Premium, TLC, Thompson International, Kroger, Food Lion, Hartley's Best, Tender Loving Care, El Competitor, Imperial Fresh, Onions 52, Majestic, and Utah Onions. So I hope I hope everyone, if you're an onion fan, you're finding you're growing your own onions, or I guess just stick with the white onions or the yellow onions. It sounds like it was just the red onions. So sorry for everyone who was a big Red Onion fan. Now, the second headline is coming out of, sorry, let me just move this down a little bit, ScienceTimes.com. So 17-year-old mastermind of hacking high-profile Twitter accounts, 2 others arrested. A 17-year-old teen from Tampa, Florida was arrested on Friday, July 31st, as authorities from the FBI, IRS, U.S. Secret Service, and Florida law enforcement identified him as the mastermind behind the biggest security and privacy breach in the history of Twitter. Now, I do have a picture of this Twitter hacker over here. Let me just pull him up. There you are. He's looking pretty ominous over there, looking real scary. Earlier this month, Graham Clark and two others hacked the Twitter accounts of high-profile individuals, including former U.S. President Barack Obama, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden, businessmen Bill Gates and Elon Musk, rapper Kanye West, tech company Apple, and a lot more. Their goal is to perpetuate a huge Bitcoin scam. On July 15th, Clark and his accomplices were able to scam people around the world of a total of $100,000 in Bitcoin. The 3 of them have been charged already of their crimes. So I reported on the old the Twitter hack when it happened weeks ago. So it looks like they arrested everyone involved. And from what I gather, the hack occurred by, I guess the main hacker was able to pose as a Twitter employee online and get access to some of the Twitter, I don't know, kind of verification tools. So he was able to get in and steal all the information he needed to hack into ex-presidents' Twitters, Elon Musk, the whole lot. So, you know, he's facing some heavy crimes over here. So hopefully they, I don't know, do we want the book to be thrown at him for hacking Twitter and stealing Bitcoin? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you're a Bitcoin fan and this really ruffled your feathers. So I don't know. Anyway, so that is headlines for the night. Now, before we get into the meat of the night, excuse me, I do have a special guest I'd like to bring on the phone here in a second. So I reported a number of, I want to say the last broadcast, I reported that people were receiving all these different mystery seeds. They were getting packages from China with a bunch of different mystery seeds, and people weren't ordering the seeds. They were just showing unannounced. So it was very spooky and mysterious. So what I have for you tonight is, on the line I have a resident of Tucson who would like to remain anonymous. But resident of Tucson, are you there?
I am here, Samba.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us for the show tonight. So you actually received some of these mystery seeds. Do you want to tell the viewers or the listeners what that looked like? How many packages you got? Were you surprised, shocked, elated to get these seeds? What were you feeling?
Well, at the time that I got them, I had no idea that this was a trend that was happening. And the first one I got about 3 weeks ago, on the cover it says mushroom stud earring. And when I open the package here, there's nothing inside except a little baggie, which I'm afraid to handle with my bare hands, but I am anyway.
Okay, all right. So you were fooled. So the package didn't say seeds on it. You didn't know they were seeds until you opened them, and you weren't familiar with the ongoing story or the late breaking story that these seeds were kind of showing up everywhere. Now, what have you done with these seeds so far?
Not a damn thing, Samba.
So they're just are they just sitting in their package, just kind of collecting dust? Are you gonna turn them over to the proper authorities, or are you just gonna keep them as some souvenirs of 2020's weirdness?
Souvenirs for sure. I went to Facebook and I got a lot of good advice on what to do with them.
Okay.
One of my friends said simply to throw them in the trash, and another friend got very upset about that. They said I needed to report it to several authorities.
Okay. So they want. So it sounds like most people do want you to take it seriously, report it to the authorities. Don't just toss them in the trash. But you're not gonna do that. You're just gonna have them. Just keeping these little baby seeds.
I'm gonna hoard them for myself here.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I got the second packet, and it says on it jewelry. Simply jewelry.
Wow. Okay. So a second package has arrived. It's labeled simply as jewelry, and I'm assuming you've opened this package as well. I imagine.
Yes, I needed to see if it was the same as before. These are different.
Oh.
The first one had like a dark powdery, almost like spore-like substance.
Oh, that's not good.
And the second one, people say looks like tea or rosemary.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say that you should drink it. I wouldn't make a tea out of it unless you were feeling brave and adventurous. I know that 2020 seems to bring a lot of different emotions out of people. A lot of people just don't give a hoot anymore, and they just want to throw caution to the wind. So if you do want to make the tea, I'm not telling you to do it. But if you do make the tea, you drink it and you survive, will you make me a promise to give me a call back here at the show and just let me know, how good was this mystery tea from a package of unknown source?
Sure, I'll take the risk,
Oh man, this is starting to sound like a radio prank gone wrong. So, well, you know what? I've taken up enough of your time. I want to thank you for calling into the show and doing this short little interview with me. So, the listeners out there do know that they are sending these seeds to people in the great city of Tucson. So, thank you again, resident of Tucson, for calling in.
It's a real thing, Samba. Thank you.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go. That was a resident of Tucson just calling in to talk seed talk with old Samba over here. So, whatever those seeds are, they're here in town. So be careful. Don't eat or plant any mystery seeds. Who knows what's happening. Now, before we get into the real meat of the night, I'd like to check these comments and see how everyone is doing out there in Radio Land. Trial and Error Collective, hello there. Smash that heart for big hairy feet. I was almost going to wear my my like Bigfoot slippers tonight, but I didn't want my feet to get sweaty. Quiverlip, Bloods versus Crips. Whoa, wait, Bloods versus Crips? Are we doing some gang war over here? I'm ready for that big squatch meat, Samba. Well, I'm glad you're here on the show. You're about to get it. Celia, multiple seed packs. Yes, the caller apparently received multiple packets. They received one packet, posted about it on the interweb, on social media, and then right before we kind of got them on the line, I had a little conversation with them, make sure they were ready, and they let me know that they got another seed pack. So they are still getting these seed packs. I don't know what that means, if they're just now in some seed database and maybe the Illuminati or Big Seed Pharma is just sending out these seeds all willy-nilly. Las Muletas, I imagine the seeds grow flowers a la Mario Brothers. Oh, yes, a la Mario Brothers. Yeah, that's true. I was also thinking of potentially like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #2, Secret of the Ooze, where they find those giant flowers that they synthesize the ooze from that causes the mutations. I was thinking maybe that could be a fun theory as well, but I guess we'll never know, because I don't know. Maybe the caller will call back someday and let me know if they planted them or drank them, made a tea out of them. I don't know. Anyway, so now on to the meat of the night. So initially before I got the show ready, I was thinking of doing a week of cryptids, but then I realized that when looking at the list of cryptids, it's insane. There's tons of cryptids out there: North American, South American, European, even Canadian cryptids that were native to Canada, I guess you could say. So I opted to just focus on one for tonight, and I'm announcing that this will be a series. The cryptids will be part of a series. Now, they're not going to happen every week, but we're going to group them all into the Tarantulas Dream TV Series 1 cryptids. So this is the inaugural episode of the cryptid series, and tonight we're talking big, we're talking feet, we're talking Bigfoot. So I feel like most people know about the old Bigfoot. He's broken, or it's broken through the cultural wall, the cultural lexicon. It is here to stay. Bigfoot at this point is hawk and jerky. I'm not sure how many people have seen those like hungry commercials with like the jerky company, and it's like Bigfoot. I don't know if the jerky's made out of Bigfoot or if he just likes to eat it, but he's hawking jerky now. Anyway, so before we get into Bigfoot, if anyone on the air doesn't know what a cryptid is, so a cryptid, and this is from Wikipedia, so this is a well-established definition of a cryptid. Cryptids are animals that are presumed by followers of the cryptozoology pseudoscientific subculture to exist on the basis of anecdotal or other evidence considered insufficient by mainstream science. While biologists regularly identify new species following established scientific methodology, cryptozoologists focus on entities mentioned in the folklore, record, and rumor. So we're all, like I said, we're all pretty familiar with the story, kind of the general idea of Bigfoot. Now, Bigfoot tends to it falls into what they call ape-like creatures. Now, ape-like creatures tend to be a mix of human characteristics. They tend to be bipedal. They tend to have, 5 digits on their hands and their feet. But they're also mixed with ape-like features, which are, they're very hairy. They tend to grunt in regards to their communication. They live outside. So they're kind of a mix of two different things. Now, ape-like cryptids have been seen in North and South America, Canada, Australia, and Asia. So this isn't an American phenomena. This is a global phenomena. There have been sightings of these ape-like creatures almost everywhere. So Bigfoot, the most famous of all these ape-like creatures. Now, this is also from Wikipedia. The Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, is said to be a hairy, upright walking creature that dwells in the wilderness and leaves giant human-like footprints. Depictions often portray them as a missing link between humans and human ancestors or other great apes. They are strongly associated with the Pacific Northwest, particularly Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, and Northern California. Now, over the years, there have been countless sightings of Bigfoot, or big feet if you're feeling saucy, including footprints, hair samples, and Bigfoot calls heard in the distance. And if you were here for the intro, you saw a little scene. That was from the History Channel. They were doing, I think it's like a sort of like a Monster Hunter type series, and that woman was playing a supposed Bigfoot call on this like specialized audio transmitter that for miles on out in front of it could broadcast this signal, and it was broadcasting a Bigfoot call, and apparently a Bigfoot called back. Now, Bigfoot has been described as being between 6 and 9 feet tall and covered in hair. So they're big creatures. The evidence of Bigfoot has been piling up, according to many Bigfoot hunters, people who frequent Bigfoot hotspots in search of the large creature. So what are some of these forms of evidence? Now, the most common one are Bigfoot tracks and handprints. Now, this is from cron.com. So this image right here, I'm going to pull up for you, there you go. So that image was released by the Red Rock Parks and Recreation Department, asking the public for help in identifying the tracks. Now, the tracks are quite large compared to humans, and there is a secondary picture. Unfortunately, when I tried to get the picture, it was behind a paywall. It wouldn't let me do it unless I signed up, and then I had to subscribe to the cron.com. So I don't have that picture. I saw it, but I don't have it. But that is, it had a picture of the park ranger standing next to the footprint, and he was putting his foot right next to the Bigfoot, supposed Bigfoot footprint, and his foot paled in comparison to this footprint that you see here. Now, Russell Miller, a Bigfoot hunter, does not believe that these prints are genuine, and he says that I'm leaning towards not real, too narrow at the instep. So apparently Bigfoot hunters and Bigfoot aficionados have been able to kind of map out the Bigfoot, the typical Bigfoot footprint, or the footprints that they feel are genuine, and apparently this one does not appear to be genuine according to Russell Miller, Bigfoot hunter. So now Roger Patterson, one half of the duo who shot the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot footage, which we will get to later, spent most of his life defending his beliefs, including taking molds of Bigfoot tracks that he found in his search. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a few more photos over here. It's actually a little slideshow, a couple pictures. That is right there. That's Patterson for you, and he's standing next to a couple molds of some big feet, or Bigfoot footprints. And as you can see right there, his foot is quite a bit smaller than these tracks. So he was a big believer in Bigfoot. So now most of these tracks were taken from from Northern California in Bluff Creek, which is where he made the famous Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot footage. So he was a big proponent of that, and we're going to get to him a little later on in the evening. Now, the next Bigfoot footprint that I found over here, that was a pretty good picture. This is from freeweekly.com. Robert Swain, head of the Arkansas Primate Evidence Society, believes Bigfoot is a primate, not a missing link, not an alien, not paranormal, unless it's in the context of outside of normal. Now, I'm going to read to you one of his accounts, Robert Swain's accounts of his scariest Bigfoot encounter, and I'm going to put up a picture of him with a mold of a Bigfoot footprint that he took. So this is his scariest Bigfoot encounter. He said, "It was about 3 years ago, dark, had been rainy all day, and I was parked at the end of a logging road, a good 20 miles to the nearest settlement," he recounts. "I was sleeping behind the wheel of my car when something woke me, and the car was rocking from side to side. There was fog outside and condensation inside, so I couldn't really see, but I distinctly heard the door handle being brought up and then dropped back into place. I really would like to have a sighting, but not in the car with me." Swain says he carries a handgun when he's in the woods, and for the first time in 7 years, I reached for it. But when I moved inside the car, I heard it run off on 2 feet. The next morning, it was too rocky to see footprints, but something had pushed the side mirror on the car all the way in. I suppose it could have been a hobo, out on the river, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of winter. So clearly he does not believe it was a hobo that sort of scared him in the middle of the night. Now, the area where Swain has said to have had his encounter has also been an area where many foot and handprints have been recovered, including the one pictured here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a little video I took cruising a website called SasquatchCanada.com. So here is me kind of just cruising around there, and I'm going to read to you kind of some of the what's written on the side, because it might be kind of hard to read. So this handprint was found in some mud at the bottom of a shallow pool on Onion Mountain, California. Kind of weird to talk about Onion Mountains. We just talked about some recalled onions. By Bob Titmus in 1982. Titmus drained the pool to get a cast of the print. A human hand is shown to illustrate how the print was positioned. The illustrated cast of a handprint and a knuckle print were made from impressions found by Paul Freeman in the Blue Mountains of Washington. The handprint was found in 1995 and the knuckle print in 1982. A footprint, 16 inches long, was found near the handprint. The human hand shown is that of a large man, about 6 feet tall and weighing about 215 pounds. Now, concerning the handprint, Dr. Henner Fahrenbach states that the accompanying footprint indicates a creature about 7 feet 4 inches in height. His analysis of the handprint is as follows. The fingers may appear shorter and more pointed than they are in reality since sand had started to drift down into the holes left by the fingers. The print is remarkable for the absence of the thenar pad, or the bulge at the base of the thumb, and the visibility of the finger tendons within the palm of the cast, as it's held at an angle to a sharp light. Both factors indicating a low level of opposability of the thumb. Its width at the palm is also fairly low in comparison to the largest, though less complete, prints that have been found. So as you can see here, those are some shots of a human hand next to the kind of the print or the cast that was taken from the imprint in the mud. So yeah, this is from SasquatchCanada.com. So if you have any interest in seeing kind of more high-res version of these pics, I would take a trip down to SasquatchCanada.com. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check some comments real quick before I go over to the song of the night, and we will get into some more evidence of Sasquatch. In fact, we're going to be talking about probably the most famous Sasquatch video in history, I guess you could say. You know what? Actually, it's 9:26. I'm going to play my song of the night first, and then we'll get to the comments, because it does look like you have a lot of juicy comments, and I'd rather wait till after the song. So tonight's song of the night, we're actually celebrating demos this week. This is Demos Week over at Tarantulas Dream TV. So we'll be highlighting some sweet local jams from bands with their debut demos. So tonight is from the band Dial Up. A song's called Userin from their 2017 demo. So I'll be back after the song. We'll have the open lines at 9:30. The phone number for the show is 520-704-7820 if you'd like to call in when we have open lines, and we can talk about Bigfoot. If you have a Bigfoot story you want to share with the audience, that is the time to do it. So enjoy some sweet jams by the band Dial Up, and I'll see you in a few minutes.
You've got mail.
Try to
you go. That was the band Dial Up with their song Usrin from their 2017 demo. I guess it's a self-titled demo. And also, Rah! I'm back with my Bigfoot hat on. Anyway, if you want to throw some Bigfoot hairy bones over at Dial Up, you can find them on Bandcamp at dialupaz.bandcamp.com. Remember to throw the AZ in there, because you'll probably come across a different Dial Up. I don't know, maybe maybe like a death metal band or something. But anyway, that was Dial Up with Usrin. It is 9:29. We'll call it 9:30 over here at Tarantulas Dream TV, and it is open line. So if you have any questions, comments, or hot takes on Bigfoot, or if you just want to talk to old Samba over here, phone number for the show is 520-704-7820. Now, before we get back to Bigfoot, let's get to some of these comments, because like everyone's just so ready to talk about Bigfoot. Quiverlip, juicy, hairy, yes, Sasquatch, sassy Squatch meat. Yeah, I wish there was a vegan company that sold jerky that used Sasquatch instead of whatever this company is that's selling this disgusting meat jerky. I don't know. Trial and Error Collective, do you think we could teach Bigfoot sign language a la Coco? Now, that's very interesting, because there are people who believe that Bigfoot, because it's a sort of human and ape hybrid, that they actually are highly intelligent as opposed to just these like wild ape-like creatures. So I would not put it past us being able to teach them sign language. Or who knows, maybe they're so intelligent that they don't even need to speak sign language and they communicate telepathically. I don't know. Little Bloodwiser, oh, hello, Little Bloodwiser. Trial and Error Collective, I love where your head's at. Yes, maybe you all should get together and we'll go on a Bigfoot hunt and see if we can teach some big feet how to sign. Nicholas Cagefight, hello, Nicholas Cagefight. Looks like Peggy Hill's foot impression. Yeah, she's got, you know what, I'm not going to shame her for her big feet, but, she does have big feet. Troki Official, hello, Troki. Must admit, the foot's big. Yes, the foot is very big. I would say, any way you shake it, those are some NBA player style feet. They're huge. Old Adam Man, that looked like a big cookie. Yeah, I would say when they make some of these plaster molds, they do tend to end up looking just like a big old cookie. There's never any ingredients in the cookie. There's never any chocolate chips, or I guess if you're a Satanist, raisins. But yeah, it does look like some kind of cookie. Trial and Error Collective. So the idea is that there's one creature, right? So wouldn't Bigfoot be like 70 years old? And actually, the theory is not. The idea is that Bigfoot is actually part of a larger society of big feet. That these are just a group of creatures that live in the woods, that have evaded human captivity for centuries or who knows how long they've been around, and they're like one big family. So there's not just one Bigfoot. Maybe there's only one Bigfoot per region, kind of like a franchised Bigfoot, but there's more than one. El Christine 729, hello El Christine. Whoa, yeah, is there a Bigfoot species or just a soul-only individual? Yes, there is a species. I think most Bigfoot believers believe that there's a species. Celia, hello Celia. Ooh, takes me back to 2009 or something. And Quiverlip, song is ripping. Yes, love Dial Up. I don't believe that they're an active band anymore. Not just because of COVID. I don't know if everyone still lives in town. I believe everyone who was in the band still lives in town. But I don't believe they ever put out a full length, and I don't know if they ever will. But we always have the demo, and it's a rockin' demo. So make sure to head over to Dial Up's Bandcamp and throw them some bones. Anyways, it's 9:32. Open lines. If you have any questions, give me a call at 520-704-7820. But on to the rest of Bigfoot. So where we last left off, I had mentioned Patterson. Now, the Patterson-Gimlin footage. Now, this is probably the most famous Bigfoot footage ever, I would say. This is the footage that is used kind of as the default footage of Bigfoot. It's the one that still frame of the Bigfoot turning around and looking at the camera. That's an iconic image in regards of the story of Bigfoot. But anyway, so I do have some information on the background of that footage if you are not familiar with it. But essentially at this point, video evidence of Bigfoot is fairly easy to find. So now if you just search on YouTube, you're going to have a lot of different hits on YouTube in regards to more modern modern Bigfoot sightings, and most of these videos they seem pretty easy to spot that they're not legitimate, or at least they don't look legitimate, and they're usually seen as like cheap fakes. But the most famous of these videos that is still not proven to be a fake is this Patterson-Gimlin footage. Now, the footage was shot in 1967, and it shows what is described as a female Bigfoot. Now, I don't know how they came to the conclusion that it was a female Bigfoot, but they're saying it's a female Bigfoot, and they nicknamed it Patty. So it's actually kind of a cute little nickname, Patty the Bigfoot. Now, this is from Wikipedia. So, filmed at Bluff Creek in Northern California by Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin. Patterson, a filmmaker, became obsessed with stories of Bigfoot, including self-publishing Do Abominable Snowmen of America Really Exist? In 1966, a book described as little more than a collection of newspaper clippings laced together with Patterson's circus poster-style prose, but containing many never-before-heard interviews and letters. 17 drawings of Patterson containing many never-before-heard interviews and letters of encounters described in the text, 5 hand-drawn maps, which are rare in subsequent Bigfoot books, and almost 20 photos and illustrations from other sources. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the kind of like a looped cut of the video behind me while I read the story of how they got this footage. So the actual full footage is that's actually kind of hard to find. What I was able to find was kind of a clip that was digitally enhanced and then stabilized and slowed down, so you do have a better view of Patty. And then I found another clip that was from, I believe, also a Discovery Channel documentary that had the portion of the video that is the most famous part. So what I did is kind of cut them together for you. So I'm going to put this up there while I tell you the story of how they got this video. So as their stories went, in the early afternoon of Friday, October 20th, 1967, Patterson and Gimlin were riding generally northeast or upstream on horseback along the east bank of Bluff Creek. At some time between 1:15 and 1:40 p.m., they came to an overturned tree with a large root system at a turn in the creek, almost as high as a room. When they rounded it, there was a log jam or a crow's nest left over from the flood of '64, and then they spotted the figure behind it nearly simultaneously. It was either crouching beside the creek to their left or standing there on the opposite bank. Gimlin later described himself as in a mild state of shock after first seeing the figure. Now, Patterson initially estimated its height at 6 feet 6 inches to 7 feet, and later raised his estimate to be about 7 feet 6 inches. Some later analysis, anthropologist Grover Krantz, among them, have suggested Patterson's later estimate was about 1 foot 2 tall. Gimlin's estimate was 6 feet. So, pretty big, but not that big. Like, if you go with the 6 foot estimate, I mean, that's pretty, I feel like that's a pretty average height for a lot of, I guess, men. I don't know. There's women who are that tall as well. But, in general, that tends to be not a super crazy height, 6 feet. The film shows what Patterson and Gimlin claim was a large, hairy, bipedal...
Whatever your first impression of this footage, there's no in-camera trickery. Examining the film shows that something really walked in front of Patterson's camera. And let's be clear on one thing. This footage either has to be a hoax or the most important piece of wildlife film ever.
On Krantz's map, this corresponds to frame 264. Now, to researcher John Green, Patterson would later characterize the creature's expression as one of contempt and disgust. You know how it is when the umpire tells you you're one more word and you're out of the game? That's the way it felt. So there you go. That's sort of some of the background of how they got this footage. They were out already kind of searching for Bigfoot, and they found Bigfoot. Now, the film was shot on 16 millimeter at 16 frames per second or 18 frames per second. There's some kind of discrepancy on what the speed of the film was shot at, and essentially Patterson went and grabbed his camera as soon as he saw the Bigfoot, ran over to it and started filming, which is why it's pretty shaky footage at the beginning. In fact, what you're watching right now is the stabilized version of that. And then the more steady footage is kind of where most of the more famous stills come from. So this is by far still the most famous Bigfoot footage probably in Bigfoot history. Now, there's much more footage now than there ever was, especially with the advent of digital cameras and cell phone footage. But again, those tend to point out the flaws in films. They tend to point out the fact that a lot of this footage seems to be faked. While this one, maybe the fact that it's on film kind of lends credibility to it, at least in the sense that it looks more realistic. But at any rate, what you're watching right now.
Whatever your first impression of this footage, there's no in-camera trickery.
Gimlin footage. Now, the footage obviously came under a lot of scrutiny because this was obviously one of the biggest films, natural films of history at this point, or ever, really. Now, initially, the film did not make a big splash among scientists of the time, with most interest coming from the European scientific community. Now, the film made the rounds as a BBC docudrama being shown in small theaters around the Pacific Northwest and Midwest, becoming a modest success. Now, Roger Patterson died in 1970 due to a long battle with stomach cancer. Patterson remained insistent that the film was not a hoax all the way through to his death, telling Bigfoot researcher Peter Byrne he wished he would have shot the thing and brought out a body instead of a reel of film days before he died. So, he definitely regretted not killing the Bigfoot. But however, several people involved with Patterson described him as a liar and a con man. So again, take that for what you will. Now, the film has never been conclusively proven to be a hoax or legitimate, which is still why it's one of the best pieces of Bigfoot footage, or just kind of cryptid footage, because even with all the technology we have now, we're still not able to conclusively say that it is fake or that it was someone in a suit. Now, the gait or the walk of the creature has been scrutinized extensively. Now, from Wikipedia, Jessica Rose and James Gamble are authors of the definitive text on human gait, human walking. They operate the Motion and Gait Analysis Lab at Stanford University. Sounds fun. They conducted a high-tech human replication attempt of Patty's gait in cooperation with Jeff Meldrum. Rose was certain their subject had matched Patty's gait, while Gamble was not quite as sure. Meldrum was impressed and acknowledged that some aspects of the creature's walk had been replicated, but not all. The narrator said, even the experts can see the gait test cannot replicate all parameters of the gait. So yes, the walk of the Bigfoot of Patty is the biggest, kind of one of the biggest pieces of evidence that this is potentially real, where I guess people who are experts in walking aren't able to exactly replicate the walk. So it seems like a small detail, but this is something that a lot of people have focused on over the years since this video was put out into the world. Now, in 2002, Philip Morris, owner of Morris Costumes, a North Carolina-based company offering costumes, props, and stage products, claimed that he made a gorilla costume that was used in the Patterson film. Morris says he discussed his role in the hoax at costume conventions, lectures, and magician conventions, which I didn't even know existed, in the 1980s, but first addressed the public at large on August 16th, 2002 in Charlotte, North Carolina, on radio station WBT. His story was also printed in the Charlotte Observer. Morris claims he was reluctant to expose the hoax earlier for fears of harming his business. Giving away a performer's secret, he said, would be widely regarded as disreputable. Morris said that he sold an ape suit to Patterson via mail order in 1967, thinking it was going to be used in what Patterson described as a prank. Ordinarily, the gorilla suits he sold were used for a popular sideshow routine that depicted an attractive woman, supposedly from some far-flung corner of the globe, being altered by a sorcerer or scientist into a gorilla or otherwise ape-like monster. After the initial sale, Moore said that Patterson telephoned him asking how to make the shoulders more massive and the arms longer. Moore says he suggested that whoever wore the suit should wear football shoulder pads and hold sticks in his hands within the suit. Now, there's no other evidence other than his testimony and validation from his wife that any of this is true, that he provided the suit that was used in the film. So again, we'll let you be the judge on whether or not you feel like this was somebody in a suit. Now, before I get into more of the sort of the claims that this was a hoax video. I'm going to get to your comments and see if anyone has any hot takes on this. Las Maletas, Frank, I can see your watch. But let's backtrack to last week's Simpsons episode. Honestly, that was probably another one of my kind of like smaller favorite Simpsons moments of Homer being interviewed, and you just have kind of a small shot of Bigfoot coming out of the background. I really wish they left that in the full episode and it wasn't left on the cutting room floor. But anyway, back to the claims of why this is potentially fake. Now, in January of 1999, Bob Hieronymus claimed to be the man in the suit in the footage through a press release by his lawyer, stating, "I'm telling the truth. I'm tired after 37 years." 5 years later, in Greg Long's book, The Making of Bigfoot, relatives of Hieronymus claimed to have seen the ape suit in his car days after the film was shot. The suit was supposedly the same suit Morris claims to have sold to Patterson, although the two men have described the suit with different details. Now, this being one of the more interesting claims that this was fake, that this person, Bob Hieronymus, is saying that they're the person in the suit, yet they have very different ideas of what this suit looks like and what the suit was like compared to the earlier Philip Morris saying that he provided the suit. Now, Hieronymus claims that the suit was made from horsehide, describing it as weighing roughly 25 pounds and saying it stunk. Roger skinned out a dead red horse. However, Morris says the suit was made of Dynel, a lighter weight synthetic material with little to no odor. So already they're button heads. Apparently the suit was either made of a dead horse or is made out of just a synthetic material that had hardly stunk at all. Hieronymus also claims the suit was a two-piece, donning the top portion like a t-shirt. Morris's suit was a one-piece where you climb into the back and wiggle your way in with a zipper running along the backside. The suits also have different appendages, with Hieronymus claiming the suit had attached hands and feet, with Morris's suit having separate hands and feet. So again, they're very different ideas of what a suit is apparently supposed to look like. Now, apparently, polygraph tests regarding their claims have been passed by both Hieronymus and Patterson. So whether or not you agree or that you find polygraph tests to be particularly accurate and trustworthy, they took them and apparently they passed. So they were both telling the truth, which is a weird idea. So now, to this day, there has been no 100% definitive proof that the film was hoaxed, with evidence pointing to its legitimacy being the gait of the creature and the creature's butt, described by researcher Esteban Sarmiento as the gluteals, although large, failed to show a human-like cleft or crack. Although Bernard Heuvelmans, a zoologist and the so-called father of cryptozoology, thought the creature in the Patterson film was a suited human. So again, you all watched the video right now, or at least you watched a good kind of like super cut of the video. So I'll let you all be the judge. This video is a very famous Bigfoot video. You can watch it online. Again, it's a little hard to find a full uncut version, but there have been so many documentaries about this one piece of footage that you can kind of pick and choose which one you want to watch and then kind of go from there. I mean, again, this is it's not proven to be fake, but it's also not proven to be real. So we're all the judges of whether or not this is legitimate. So back over here to the comments. Trial and Error Collective. Samba, have you heard of ECETI? ECETI? My friend said he saw a Bigfoot there. No, what is ECETI? What is that? Is it like a convention or... I don't know. Trial and Error Collective, fill us in. Eggs and Eyes, Cryptid Cosplay. Oh, hello, Eggs and Eyes. You're here. You're back in the studio, everyone. My studio producer, Totataman, was out of the studio for a little while, but looks like they're back. Cryptid Cosplay, Eggs and Eyes. What is Bigfoot? Is just like Justin Long in Tusk. Now, for people who haven't seen the film Tusk, it's essentially about a dude who gets kidnapped and, well, you know what? I'm not going to give it away. But as far as I can tell, Bigfoot is not... I don't believe it's a human that's been churned into a Bigfoot, an ape creature. I don't know. Maybe they ate too much jerky and suddenly they turn into Bigfoot. Trial and Error Collective. It's a ranch in Oregon. Oh, okay. A hotspot for UFO and Bigfoot spottings. Oh, all right. Is it any connection with Skinwalker Ranch at all, or maybe they're connected in some capacity? I feel like I've heard a lot about Skinwalker Ranch, and I believe that's out in Oregon or maybe Washington. It's out in the Pacific Northwest as far as I can tell. So maybe they are connected in some capacity. But if anyone has any more information on ECETI or ECETI, feel free to throw it in the comments or give me a call or send me a DM after the show's over. Or I'll probably just look it up after the end of the show and see if there's any good kind of Bigfoot, more recent kind of Bigfoot news coming out of this ranch. So anyway, so yeah, that's essentially it for tonight in regards to kind of the history of Bigfoot. So I wanted to lay the groundwork of some of the more historical stuff with Bigfoot, the evidence that people use as proof of Bigfoot. It tends to be just the molds of the feet. The tracks are a big thing. A lot of people find Bigfoot hair on their properties if they live out in the Bigfoot tends to be a Pacific Northwest thing. They find a lot of hair that they can't explain. They hear the calls of Bigfoot, which tend to be a very guttural sounding kind of yell, if you will. It's not elegant in any way. Those tend to be kind of the more common evidence of Bigfoot. Now, on Wednesday's show, what we're going to get into is some more more current Bigfoot news with some pretty big stuff, I'd say. Evidence of some DNA testing, some Bigfoot samples that were put through the ringer and tested, and there's some interesting results that came about. We also have some theories from Lloyd Pye. I'm not going to give him away, but he has a very interesting theory of what exactly are Bigfoot or big feet, where they come from, how they relate to humanity at large. So Wednesday is also going to be a good show, and I am going to have a special guest on Wednesday. A supposed Bigfoot hunter will be on the air. So feel free to kind of round up your calls or your questions now for what you'd like to ask a real life Bigfoot hunter, and they'll hopefully be able to do you right and give you the good stuff. Over here in the comments, Eggs and Eyes, come on, Samba, Skinwalker Ranch is just a nudist resort. Well, why didn't I think of that? Okay, yes, Skinwalker Ranch is just a nudist resort. Yes, I'm actually, in all fairness, I'd actually like to take a trip out to Skinwalker Ranch. I hear a lot of creepy things happen over at Skinwalker Ranch. I also hear that the residents around the Skinwalker Ranch think it's just a bunch of hooey, and they don't actually see all the things that are rumored to be at Skinwalker Ranch. And if anyone is not familiar with Skinwalker Ranch, it is a piece of property that apparently has a lot of UFO sightings, a lot of potential cryptid sightings. There's been cattle mutilations, which potentially might relate to UFOs or some kind of interdimensional being. So at any rate, if anyone has the skinny on Skinwalker, if I have any listeners who've been to Skinwalker, feel free to let me know. But someday I'd like to take a trip out to Skinwalker Ranch just to kind of see what the big deal is. It's been a thing in paranormal circles for a long time, and as someone who has a big interest in paranormal stuff, the occult, and just spooky things in general, I think I should probably take a trip out to Skinwalker Ranch. So yeah, if anyone has any more questions for me before the end of the night, you know the number. It's 520-704-7820. Again, this week is Cryptid Week. We're talking about Bigfoot. On Wednesday, we'll be getting into more Bigfoot discussion, more Bigfoot talk. We'll be talking about some DNA evidence that was found, some hair, a big study that I remember was making the rounds on paranormal forums for kind of a little while now. It was kind of a big deal. I remember staying up late and listening to Coast to Coast to listen to their kind of late breaking news on this Bigfoot study, but then it kind of didn't really go anywhere. But I will report on it because it's very interesting that there's still more scientific research into the idea of Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot kind of taps into a lot of our basic desire of the unknown. I mean, the idea of a creature that's at its smallest, potentially 6 foot, at its largest, maybe 8 feet, 9 feet, just kind of living out in the woods and evading the human eye, human capture is very interesting. Eggs and Eyes, did I miss the distinction between Bigfoot and Sasquatch with the little monkey emoji? I didn't get into the distinction between Bigfoot and Sasquatch. In fact, they're just kind of regional. As far as I know, Bigfoot and Sasquatch are just regional terms, colloquialisms for Bigfoot. I didn't really notice any big difference. In fact, they're interchangeable a lot of times when I was reading about Bigfoot and Sasquatch. So take that for what you will. I know there's obviously a difference between Bigfoot and the Yeti. Yeti is not an American Bigfoot. Is more of a snow type Bigfoot that is not North American. So there is a difference between that and Bigfoot. But Bigfoot and Sasquatch, I believe, are interchangeable. Trial and Error Collective. Good question. And Eggs and Ice. So not cousins. I mean, they could be cousins. Again, Bigfoot is rumored to be part of a race of feet. Big feet, because we don't know exactly what they are. They're still very much classified as ape-like creatures, but with human characteristics. There's not just one Bigfoot. There's many big feet in North America. In fact, there's been sightings around the country. They mostly gather around the Pacific Northwest, but again, throughout the country, there have been little pockets of sightings. I haven't heard of any sightings here in Arizona, especially not here in Tucson. We do have Mount Lemmon. I've never seen anything up there myself. I've been up there many times. I haven't heard any spooky stories of a Bigfoot here in Arizona. I don't know if they'd really be able to survive up here in Arizona. I mean, even though the temperature and kind of the climate of Mount Lemmon is very different than it is down here in Tucson, it's still like, I don't know. I feel like it'd be too hot for a Bigfoot. I feel like they'd overheat. Eggs and Eyes, a foot race. Yes, a foot race. Yes, Bigfoot. There's many big feet. There's not just one. There's many. So, anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. I will be back on Wednesday with more Bigfoot news of Bigfoot. Again, more modern stuff. We're going to be talking about the Sasquatch Genome Project, talking about Lloyd Pye and his theories, as well as a few other things. And we're going to be having a guest with a real Bigfoot hunter or searcher. I guess not really hunter. I'd say searcher. If you're a Bigfoot hunter, I don't appreciate that. I feel like we shouldn't be killing these creatures if they exist. So anyways, I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. It's Monday, so we still got quite a bit more to get through before we get to that so good weekend, except really, does the weekend even matter anymore? I don't know. Anyway, so if you go outside, social distance if you can, wear a mask if you're heading out to the store or just hanging out with friends, and remember, it is a weird world. Take care.